Hey guys, I am back. Holy cow, 2 weeks in a row. I don't even know how this is happening. Um, I'm curious about something though. I have some different lighting, so let me know if it looks terrible or not, or let me know if we can roll with it, okay? It's a little easier to set up. So, um, last week was hodgepodge, and this week is a little different. It's not necessarily hodgepodge, but it's just some things that have come up, things that are on my mind, things that maybe if I can figure out how to vocalize it, maybe it's something someone else is going through, and maybe it's something that that can help you in the process, and we can figure some of this stuff out together because life is crazy. I'm on social media all the time, and something that popped up the other day, there's a couple of things, but the first one I want to talk about is trauma response. And it says that feeling the need to be busy all the time is a trauma response and fear-based distraction from what you'd be forced to acknowledge and feel if you slowed down. The author of that is Tutu Mora. And I want to break that down a little bit because it's so true, right? We've talked about this a million times. I'm an addict. I was a drug addict. I was a food addict. And now I'm a work addict, right? I stay busy all the time because it keeps me from thinking about the things that I don't want to think about. I mean, I reorganized the condiment drawer yesterday in my refrigerator because I didn't want to think about what was in my mind, which is the struggles I'm still having with my 26-year-old. Man, oh man. I don't want to think about that. And so when I slow down, I think. And one of the biggest places for me that I think is in the shower. And so a lot of times I'll turn on a podcast or a book or something. And speaking of books in the shower, this is kind of a squirrel moment, but if you've never read Matthew McConaughey's book called Green Light, don't read it. Just pay for the Audible and listen to it because he narrates his entire book, and it is some of the craziest, best stuff like ever. The shower is a place where, if I don't have music or a book or something, that I, for some reason, go through all the bad stuff in my head. Why didn't I do this? And why didn't I do that? Like, one thing that goes through my head all the time, and this is crazy, but when I had my tummy tuck done a couple of years ago, I was so hell-bent on not spending another dime of what I was already spending for it, right? And one of the things that Dr. Harrison said when we were, standing naked in front of the mirror looking at him, and he's like marking stuff on my body. And he's like, okay, this is what we're going to do to your stomach, and this is what we're going to do here. And we're going to do a little lipo and take some of this out of your booty and smooth it out a little bit. And then for your legs, and I immediately shut him down. I have anxiety just talking about this because I'm so pissed off at myself. I immediately shut him down. I was like, no, my legs are fine. I don't want to do anything to my legs. And he just kind of looked at me and he's like, okay. That's where I needed him to say, hey, can you just listen to what I'm going to say for a minute? Instead of just giving me my way. I wish he would have just paused and said, okay, take a deep breath and let me explain to you what I'm talking about. But I never let him go further than that, and he never said anything else about it. And what I realized later is that, I don't know if you know this, but they make you wear this like full body garment thing that's horrible. It's the most horrible thing on the planet for like 3 months after you have surgery. And it has the legs in it. Well, the reason they do that is because during the surgery, he also performs the lipo on your legs and stuff, just like he did on my butt and my upper back and all that. But for some reason, I was scared to death that it was going to cost me more money if he even remotely touched my legs, right? And so I said no. And I stand in the shower every time I shave my legs and kick myself in the ass for that on a daily, right? Because I don't like my legs now. They're lumpy and they're frumpy after all the weight that I've lost. And the only real way to get through all that is to go through lipo again. And that shit is brutal. So, no, thank you very much. I guess I'll just deal with lumpy legs. God, like sometimes I wish I would just close my mouth and listen to people. That's one of the hardest things. I assume what you're going to say, so I stop it before it's said. Ugh. We totally got off on a tangent there, but that's something like if I have music or a book or something to listen to, or Room at the Top, which is part of our business training, if I'm listening to those things, I'm not thinking about the things that I have shorted myself for, or the things that I've done wrong to myself, or the things that are bad and happening in my life. I had a boss one time that the shower was where he got his best ideas. That was like totally his think tank. And for me, it's not at all. But once again, there it is. Feeling the need to be busy all the time is a trauma response and fear-based distraction from what you'd be forced to acknowledge and feel if you slowed down. So if I didn't listen to something in the shower, right, then I'm forcing myself to slow down and think about the things I don't want to think about. Crazy, right? Crazy. So one of the things that I've talked about with Janelle, and I want to back this up for just a second. I think that the word trauma is overly used. And I want people to think about that, because something bad happening to you, or something that pisses you off, or you're just having a bad day, is a very different, it's very different than trauma. Trauma is something that you are triggered, you know, something from your childhood, something deep in your past, something traumatic that's happened to you. So don't use that word lightly, because there's a lot of people that do, and it's hurtful to the people that have truly had the trauma, that you're calling something so minimal and menial like trauma. So if that makes sense. One of the things that Janelle and I talk about is, mindfulness focus, and what does that look like? Like, even in listening to Darren Hardy stuff, he's always like, tie something that you need to do with a habit that you have, like brushing your teeth and giving yourself a hug from the inside, it was always like on my way to the gym, I would turn on Darren Hardy and listen to that on my way, because if I didn't, my day would get away from me and it'd be crazy. Well, now I have a home gym, so I listen to it every morning while I'm brushing my teeth and getting ready and all the things. And it's interesting how things become things that are good for you and positive for you. If you don't listen to Darren Hardy, you really should, because he's pretty great. It's darrendaily.com. But if you tie things to the things that you already do that come naturally without you even thinking about it, like, getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth and washing your face and all the things, if you tie something to that, you have more of an opportunity, or it's going to stick better, it's going to stick better for you to create a habit, is what I'm trying to say. I couldn't find the words. So that's one for me. I listen to Darren Hardy every morning while I'm getting ready for the day. You know, there was another thing that came up. And it made me think about, where do I see myself in 2 years? And do I have a plan? And one of the other things that I saw today, and this hit me like a freight train and a Mack truck, says, I got a different definition of procrastination yesterday that made me sit up. Procrastination is the arrogant assumption that God owes you another opportunity to do what you had time to do. It hit differently. God. I'm going to read that one more time. I got a different definition of procrastination yesterday that made me sit up. Procrastination is the arrogant assumption that God owes you another opportunity to do what you had time to do. It hit differently. And that is something very much so for me in doing this podcast. Like, there's times that I just, either I don't have anything to say, or I don't know how to put it into words, so I just procrastinate. And normally I record on Mondays, and here I am, it's Wednesday. And I procrastinated, and I know that's not good for me. But I know it's something that we all do. And so, where do you see yourself in 2 years? For me, I mean, if you would have asked me that in 2018 before I started Xyngular, I would have told you that I'd still be sitting at Bales and Company. I would be, God help me, working on 1099s right now, trying to get them out before January 1st. I would be doing all the tax things, all the things. I actually didn't mind doing taxes. I got a lot of them done. I didn't mind it too much, but the pressure of having everything done and having to depend on other people to do their job to be able to get my job done, that's the part that I hated. I hated that because I don't ever like depending on other people. That's my least favorite thing to do. And interestingly enough, it's in the line of work that I'm in, because I'm in the people business. I'm in the people building business. And if people don't want to grow, then guess what happens to my team? Once again, let's stay busy so I don't focus on any of that. But in talking with Janelle, she came up with some interesting questions, and I wanted to share them with you because I think they're pertinent to what we're talking about. Like, where do you see yourself in 2 years or even 5 years? And do you have a plan to get there? Or are you just procrastinating? Are you just waiting for God to throw it in your lap? I'm not going to lie. Some days I do. Like, I always get my work done, but sometimes I procrastinate on the things that I know are hard, or the things that I'm worried I'll hear a no, and I know we're supposed to celebrate the no's, but even still for me, it's hard to hear the no's, right? So I'm going to put my glasses on so I can read these because I wrote them too small to be able to say them. So anyway, I got some new glasses. I think they're kind of cute. So what are you prepared to do differently? Like, if you see yourself in 2 years not working where you work, not living how you live, and this could be mentally, physically, not staying in the marriage that you're in, not continuing to take abuse or be abused, or whatever it may be that's going on in your life that you want to see something different in the next 2 years, what are you prepared to do differently? That's your first question. Because it sucks, right? Getting out of that comfort zone and trying to figure out a different way. The next question is, I don't know if you have a notepad for this, but you probably should be writing these down. How are you showing up? If you want things to be different, you got to show up. How are you showing up for your work? Are you showing up like someone who wants that raise or that promotion? Are you, how are you showing up in life? How are you showing up every day? If you want to be a better parent, if you want to kick an addiction, how are you showing up for yourself and for your family? What are your challenges? Like, what are the biggest challenges you face? Is it time? Is it money? Is it teenagers? Is it, an asshole boss that has cobwebs in their vagina? I mean, like, what is it? What are the things, right? And who will you seek out to help support you in life challenges? So I think that goes back again to, what are you prepared to do differently? I mean, I didn't think 2 years ago I would need to be having a life coach and some therapy, right? I had no idea. But things happen, and for things to change, I have to do something different. I have to step out of that comfort zone. And one thing I love about Janelle is that she doesn't tell me what to do, right? She doesn't give me advice. She guides me in the right direction. Like, she asks the right questions to get me to figure out the answer in my head of what it is I truly want. And I love that about that. Like, I love that. It's good. So figure out what your challenges are and what you're prepared to do differently. How are you showing up? Who will you seek out to help support you in life changes? You have to be willing to reach out to mentors. You have to be willing to reach up to maybe a different boss, maybe a different team, maybe a different something, right? And another thing you have to ask yourself is, do you feel like your time is valuable? And that's a hard thing, because none of us want to feel arrogant or feel like we seem arrogant or we're coming across arrogantly. But I'm here to tell you that your time is valuable. It is. And you have to know that, and you have to believe that. Now, I've had so many times that friends in the past, we had some friends, and I felt like we were like the booty call friends, right? It was 9:00 at night. We're sitting and hanging out and having a good time, or just, we're sitting back watching a movie or something. And we'd get so excited to get a message from these friends that we would stop whatever we were doing and go hang out with them. And I get it. That's cool sometimes. But they're not planners, and we are planners. And they wanted us to bend to what they wanted, but it was hard for us to bend to, it was hard for them to bend to what we wanted or what was good for us, right? So I feel like we didn't value ourselves as much in that friendship, because we liked these people. We wanted to hang out with them. But they didn't value us. And our time wasn't valuable to them. And those aren't really people that you want to be friends with, We do have some great friends anyway, we have some great friends. I kind of went on a squirrel moment. Sorry. So do you feel your time is valuable? Do you love yourself? That's huge. It is so hard for us to love ourselves as we are, right? We all have improvement somewhere, but I want to tell you that, you know, I've been reading my I am boards, and I'm trying to teach myself to love myself even more, you know. And what I found is I was in a habit to hurry up and get through it, and I would just read the words. And there is so much more power in reading I am. There's so much more power in that than just reading the words, but putting that I am valuable. I am his. I am honest. I am loved. I am strong. I am determined. It's so much different when you're saying those words rather than not. And I just realized that something's going. My new light is going dead. Yay! It's going dead. So this thing is not gonna last long. So I hope the lighting doesn't change terribly, but we'll see. How can we focus on ourselves and empower ourselves? That's huge too, right? I mean, we talk about self-care. Self-care is important, right? But you got to have priorities. Self-care is very important, but if you have people that you're supposed to be helping take care of and you made a commitment and you have a responsibility, then that sometimes comes before your self-care, right? Because there's people counting on you, like your family and people, your business, things like that, right? So self-care is important, but I also think that it can be something simple on the daily, you know? I don't think it has to be anything extravagant. That's me personally. Everybody's different. It just depends on what you need. One of the things that always stood out to me is, you know, when you're dealing with other people, let me get back to this. How do we focus on ourselves and empower ourselves? How do you empower yourselves? You tell yourself all the positive things. You look in the mirror and you tell yourself that you love yourself on the daily. You put yourself around people that are willing to fight for you. You put yourself in front of people that are good for you, that lift you up, right? You have to protect your heart. You have to be around the good people. Like, you just have to. And one of the things that was really big for me is it's not your job to save people. It's your job to support them so they can save themselves. Some of us are such huge enablers. That's the word I'm looking for. An enabler. I was an enabler for a really long time. Bear with me while I move stuff for a moment, because I got to get in some more light. Okay. Are you an enabler? It's not your job to save people. It's your job to support them so they can save themselves. I have been an enabler for a really long time. I have allowed people to treat me a certain way to where that's the expectation. And that is my fault. That is on me 100% because I should have stopped the behavior a long time ago. But sometimes there's extenuating circumstances, you know, like my oldest son. I mean, I've let him just walk all over me, hand over fist. And I did it because I knew he was the only one that he could take stuff out on. And we always take things out on the people that we love the most, right? Because those are the people that are going to be there for us and not give up on us no matter what. So I allowed it. I allowed it also because I was scared that if he didn't get it out, or if I put my foot down, or if I told him something different, I was scared that he would take his own life. And I don't ever want to be that. I don't want to live in fear like that, you know? And, you know, we've talked about that with addiction and with recovery and all the things. You can't do it for them, right? You can't save somebody. You can be there to support them and love them and guide them and be there to love them and hold them up when they fall apart and cheer them on when they reach amazing goals. But they have to save themselves. And if you keep trying to save them over and over, they'll never learn how to save themselves. And that is enabling. And that is not healthy. And that is what causes relationships with parents and children to go wrong so quickly, so fast. And in relationships with husbands and wives, right? There's people who try to fix the problem and they sweep it under the rug and it doesn't fix the problem. It just makes the behavior even worse. And then when you stand up for yourself, that person's like, what's wrong with you? You're horrible. Like, why are you acting like this? Because they don't expect you to stand up for yourself. They just expect you to let them treat you how they always have, which is not a great idea. Not even in the least bit. So it's not your job to save people. It's your job to support them so they can save themselves. If you're in an abusive relationship, if you're in a relationship with an addict, and addiction is all kinds of things, y'all. I don't mean just drugs. I mean drugs, alcohol. You know, if you are in a relationship with someone who has to have a chemical or a food or something to make them feel better every day that is not good for them, that's an addiction. That's a problem. And if you just turn a blind eye to that, you're really, truly hurting the person that you love, that you say you love. Because, and granted, you can't fix it for them, but you don't have to enable it either. So anyway, that's just some of the thoughts that were on my mind today. And I hope that you got something out of this today. I hope that you could take these words of advice and use them and apply them to your daily life. And, you know, all of us have been through a lot of shit in our lives. I don't know many people that haven't. I know there's some out there. But for the most part, we're all just trying to make it. You know, we're all just trying to feel the joy and put a, smile on our face and enjoy life while we're here, because this is a really short trip. I know that it's hard. I know that it's hard to get up every day and put your big girl or big boy panties on. takes a lot of bravery to do that too, especially with what we deal with on the daily. But I just want you to know I'm proud of you for doing it. Proud of me for doing it. Proud of the world for doing it. We need more people to do it. More people to take responsibility for their own shit, you know? So that's it, you know? If you're enabling somebody, stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Stop it. It's going to hurt for a while when you set those boundaries. They're going to get pissed. But you have to give it to God. And you have to know that God's in control of this and not you. And that's what I'm shooting for every day, is just to give God as much control as possible so I don't have to carry it on my shoulders. Most of the time my shoulders are like way up here, you know? Tense, carrying the weight of the world. So I get it. I feel you. I know if that's happening to you too. I get it. It's hard. But we're going to do this. We're going to get through this. We are going to come out the other side. But think about that. Where do you want to be in 2 years? Where do you see yourself in 2 years? And what are you doing to change it? Okay? Peace out, homies. I'll see y'all later.